Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into something I think pretty much everyone struggles with sometimes. You know that moment right after you've said hello, they said hi back, and then there's that pause. The ice is broken, technically, but
Yeah.
yeah. What comes next?
Oh, absolutely. That exact moment.
We've been looking at some material from Mastering English Conversation Continuity, and well, our mission today is pretty clear. We want to pull out the really useful stuff, the practical bits, to help you get past that awkward silence and, keep conversations flowing naturally.
It's such a critical point, isn't it? That post-greeting pause. It really does separate beginners from people who feel, well, more confident keeping things going. It's so common to just freeze, maybe offer a quick comment, something safe like the weather, a nod, a smile, and then you just feel it grinding to a halt.
Yeah, that feeling. Ugh.
So this deep dive, using this material as our guide, is all about giving you the psychology behind it, the actual techniques, and some real strategies, things you can actually use to break through.
Okay, let's do it. The material kicks off by looking at why conversations tend to stall out right there after the first few words. And it's not always just about vocabulary, which I think is what most people assume.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What struck me reading this was how it digs into these hidden roadblocks. Yes, lack of vocabulary is part of it. Sure. You need the words to respond, to add something. It's like knowing how to throw a ball but fumbling the catch, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's the fear of mistakes. And that's huge, right? That little voice inside, am I going to say this wrong? Will I sound stupid?
That fear can just paralyze you. Kills the spontaneity.
Totally. Been there.
And another interesting angle is cultural silence anxiety. This source points out how different cultures view silence. In some places, pauses are totally normal, comfortable. But in, say, American or British contexts, often silence can feel, well, awkward pretty quickly. Just knowing that difference exists can actually help you manage the feeling,
That's a really good point. I hadn't thought about it quite like that. And the last one mentioned here is no clear goal. Sometimes things just fizzle out because you don't really know what you want from the interaction. Is it just quick small talk? Trying to actually connect. Learn something specific. Without even a vague sense of direction, it's hard to steer it.
Yeah.
So understanding these reasons beyond just, I need more words, that's step one.
Right. So it's less about perfect grammar and more about, well, the psychology and having a bit of a plan, almost, which makes total sense. The material uses this really great analogy for conversation, the one about...
Oh, playing catch. Yeah, I love that one. It's so simple, but really effective. Thinking of conversation, like tossing a ball back and forth, you offer a thought, a question, a comment, they catch it, they throw one back. And the main thing isn't throwing the hardest ball or the fanciest one. Just keep keeping it going, keeping the ball in the air.
Keep the ball in the air. I like that.
And that idea naturally leads to some really helpful mindset shifts this resource suggests. The first one, it's honestly huge for a lot of learners. Stop trying to sound perfect. Seriously. The goal is getting your message across, having a connection, not delivering some flawless grammatical performance. Truth is, even native speakers, we mess up words. Sentences get tangled in casual chat all the time. Focus on connecting. That's the key.
Okay, letting go of perfection. Easier said than done sometimes, but okay.
And link to that. Be curious, not clever. Forget trying to impress with fancy words. The best conversationalists, they're just genuinely interested. They ask questions because they actually want to know the answer. That real curiosity, it's magnetic, and it just naturally fuels the conversation forward.
So less performance, more interest.
Exactly. And then there's the 70-30 rule. I thought this was pretty smart. Basically, aim to let the other person do about 70% of the talking. Your job becomes more about listening actively, guiding a bit, adding your thoughts where they fit. It takes so much pressure off you to constantly be generating stuff to say. And honestly, people love to be heard. It makes you way more likable.
The 70-30 rule. Okay, that feels manageable. Focus on curiosity, keep the ball moving. That really reframes it. All right, so we've got the why conversations die and the mindset shift. Let's get practical. What are the actual tools, the techniques this resource talks about?
Okay, yeah, this is the really actionable part. One great technique is called mirror and match. It's basically repeating a small part of what the other person just said, like a little echo, and then adding your own thought or question onto it.
Okay, give me an example.
Sure. So someone says, I went hiking last weekend. You could mirror that back. Oh, hiking. That sounds great. Whereabouts did you go?
See?
You repeat hiking, show you heard them, and then add a question that builds on it.
Ah, I see. Why does that work so well?
Well, it immediately shows you're listening, right?
Mm-hmm.
It gives you something specific to respond to, keeps the topic focused on them, and just naturally pushes the conversation forward. You're catching their ball and gently tossing it back with a little spin.
Got it. Mirror and match. What else?
Then there's the absolute classic follow-up questions. This might be the most important one. Don't just stop on the short reply. Always try to have a question ready, and the best kind. Usually those WH questions. What, where, why, who, when, how.
Why WH specifically?
Because they usually can't be answered with just yes or no. They invite longer answers, they invite explanations, and crucially, they invite stories. If someone says they work in marketing, just saying, oh, cool, kind of kills the momentum. But
Yeah.
asking, oh, interesting, what's the most exciting part of your job? That keeps their story rolling, keeps the ball in the air.
Right, inviting stories, not just facts.
Exactly. And something else highlighted is reacting emotionally, not just verbally. Use your voice,
You're right.
use your face. Don't just be a passive listener. Throw in things like, no way. Or, wow, really? That's amazing. Or, are you serious? These show you're actually engaged, invested in what they're saying. It makes a huge difference to how the other person feels.
So showing you're connecting on an emotional level, too.
Precisely. And one more neat little trick is the echo technique. This is even simpler than mirror and match. You literally just repeat the last key word or phrase they said, usually with a little upward inflection, like a question mark. So if they say, I'm taking salsa dancing classes, you just go, salsa dancing.
Just that.
Just that. It prompts them to elaborate on that specific thing without you having to think of a full question right away.
Yeah.
It keeps the focus on them, keeps things moving smoothly.
Huh. Those are things, yeah, you hear native speakers do them all the time without even realizing it, maybe. They're like the building blocks. Does the material also talk about how to start the conversation so these follow-ups are easier?
It does, yeah. Because how you start can really set the stage. The big mistake is starting with those closed questions.
Yeah.
The ones you can only answer with yes or no. Like, do you like pizza or is your job fun? They're just conversational dead ends, usually.
Where do you go from yes?
Exactly. So the advice is start with questions that actually invite a story or an opinion or some kind of description right from the beginning. Instead of, do you like pizza? Maybe try, what's your favorite kind of pizza? And like, what makes it so good for you? Instead, is your job fun? Maybe, what's the most surprising thing about your job?
Asking for the why or the what kind. Okay.
Yeah. And it also lists some useful little bridging phrases, those golden follow-ups. Things like, that reminds me of, or has anything like that ever happened to you?
Mm-hmm.
I always wonder, oh, what would you do if even just a casual, hey, can I ask you something kind of random, can open up a new path. They invite connection.
Seeing it play out helps. You mentioned there's an example like in a cafe.
Yeah, a really good little role play scenario. So picture you're in a cafe, someone's nearby working on a laptop. Instead of just, hi, you could start with something specific you notice and an open question. Like, hey, sorry to bother you, but I love those stickers on your laptop. Are you a designer or something? See, it's genuine, observational, and it asks for more than a yes/no.
Okay, makes sense.
So let's say they reply, oh, thanks. Yeah, I did some freelance graphic design. Boom, you can use the echo, graphic design. That little prompt encourages them to say a bit more. Maybe they add another sentence. Then you hit them with a WH follow-up. Wow, that's cool. How did you get into that?
So you're layering the techniques.
Exactly. As they start sharing their story, you weave in maybe a short, relatable comment to show you're connecting. That's really neat. I've always admired creative types. And then another WH question. So what kind of projects do you enjoy working on most? Maybe they mentioned working with an eco startup.
Yep.
You can echo that specific detail. An eco startup, which invites more detail and could lead naturally to something like, oh, interesting. What was their mission?
Wow, okay. And just like that, a simple comment about stickers turns into this whole conversation about careers, design, maybe even environmental stuff. It really shows how using that curiosity, the echoing, the follow-ups, showing some positive reaction, it keeps that conversational ball really flying high.
Absolutely. It feels totally natural when it's happening, but underneath, it's often these simple techniques being applied, maybe even subconsciously, for fluent speakers.
Okay, but what about the traps? We all fall into them. What are the common ways we accidentally kill a conversation, even if we kind of know these techniques?
Good question. The material is pretty direct about the pitfalls. Number one, talking too much about yourself. It's so easy, especially if you're nervous or excited, to just dominate. The advice here is the 1-for-1 rule. Basically, for every piece of info you share about yourself, try to ask one question back to them. Like, yeah, I love sci-fi movies. What about you? Seen anything good lately? Keeps it balanced.
1-for-1. Got it.
Never shit.
Yeah.
Second big mistake, changing topics too quickly. Just jumping around makes the conversation feel chaotic, superficial, and it can signal to the other person you weren't really listening or interested in what they were just saying. So instead of hearing, I work in tech, and immediately saying, oh, I just got a puppy, you stick with their thread. Oh, tech. That's interesting. Is it as demanding as everyone says?
Stay on the thread. Don't jump around.
Okay. Then there's being overly formal or robotic, sounding like you swallowed a textbook. Conversation needs to feel natural, relaxed. Use contractions. Use normal intonation instead of like, how do you do? I am finding this event quite satisfactory, and yourself.
Yeah.
Just, hey, how's it going? You having a good time?
Right. Relax a little.
Yeah. Also, avoiding emotions or opinions. If all you ever say is cool, okay, or the conversation just flatlines, you need to share a little reaction, a feeling, a thought related to what they shared instead of just, okay, maybe, wow, that sounds like it was really exciting. I'd love to try that someday. Or if they shared something difficult, oh, man, that sounds tough. How did you get through that?
Show some genuine reaction.
Exactly. And the final one, maybe the most crucial, not listening actively. Are you really hearing them? Or are you just waiting for your turn to talk, planning your next sentence in your head? Show you're listening, nodding, eye contact, little verbal cues like, right, wow. And clarifying questions are great for this too. Wait, hang on. Did you say you spent 5 years living in Italy? That shows you were paying attention.
Yeah.
These mistakes, they really affect how the other person feels and whether they want to keep talking.
It really comes back to focusing on the other person, doesn't it?
Yep.
Not just what you're going to say. Building on that, the material also talks about taking it deeper, moving past just surface level chat to like actual connection.
Yes, absolutely. This is about leveling up the skills. It introduces the deepen it technique. When someone shares something, especially something with a bit of feeling, try to gently probe a little deeper. Explore the emotion or the story behind the statement. So if they say, oh man, I've been so busy lately, instead of just nodding, you could ask something like, oh yeah, busy with work stuff, or is it like a good busy or more of a stressful busy? It shows you actually care about their experience, not just the fact that they're busy.
That requires a bit more vulnerability maybe, but I can see how it builds connection.
Definitely. And the resource offers some nice connection phrases, little things you can say that build trust and rapport, things like, I totally get that, or, oh, same here, I felt exactly like that before, or that reminds me of something similar, or even just, wow, that's really brave of you to share that. They're like little emotional bridges between you.
Emotional bridges, I like that phrase.
And it also stresses how important it is to know when to share a little bit about yourself. Not dominating, remember the 7D30 rule, but being authentic. People connect through shared experiences, through vulnerability, not through pretending everything's perfect. Sharing a small, relatable struggle like, honestly, the first time I had to give a presentation in English, I was terrified. Or, oh yeah, I still mix up those two words sometimes, it happens. That makes you human, relatable, creates comfort.
Right. Showing you're not perfect either.
Exactly. And the final piece of this deeper connection puzzle is knowing how to gracefully suggest continuing the connection when a good conversation is ending. Don't just let a great chat die. If you felt a spark, suggest a next step. Things like, hey, it was really great chatting with you. Would you be open to exchanging Instagrams or something? Or, I'd honestly love to hear more about your project sometime. Maybe grab quick coffee next week. It shows genuine interest beyond just that one interaction.
That takes confidence, too, suggesting the next step. It shows the conversation mattered.
For sure. True confidence isn't just starting the chat. It's knowing how to potentially extend it too.
So these are great techniques and mindsets. But how do we actually, practice this stuff? Make it a habit?
The material gives some solid, practical ways to build these skills daily. First up, talk to yourself daily. Sounds a bit weird maybe, but seriously, narrate what you're doing, your thoughts, plans for the day out loud in English. It gets you used to accessing the language, building fluency in a totally zero-pressure situation.
Okay. Talking to myself. I can try that.
Second, shadow real dialogues. Find videos, podcasts like this one, where native speakers are talking. Pause the audio and try to repeat what they just said. Mimic their rhythm, their intonation, how they phrase things. It's great for catching the natural flow.
Shadowing.
Third, use language exchange apps. There are tons of them now. Tandem, HelloTalk, others. They connect you with real people who want to practice. It's a perfect sort of controlled environment to try out these mirroring and follow-up techniques.
Right. Real-time practice with real people.
And fourth, set micro goals. Don't try to become a master conversationalist overnight. Make it small, specific, achievable. Like, okay, today, in my next English chat, I'm going to ask at least 3 follow-up questions. Or this week, I'm going to try starting one conversation with someone at the coffee shop.
Yeah.
Track those little wins. It builds momentum and makes it feel less overwhelming.
Micro goals. That feels doable. The material even has a little challenge, right? Like a 7-day thing.
Yeah, a simple 7-day challenge to put it all together. It's just one small focus each day. Day 1. Just start one short chat with someone, maybe a stranger, maybe someone you know a little. Day 2, focus on asking at least 2 good follow-up questions in a conversation.
Day 3.
Consciously use an emotional reaction. Wow, or that's amazing. Day 4, practice the mirroring technique. Repeat a key phrase back. Day 5, aim to go a bit deeper. Ask a why or how question that gets a story. Day 6, share a brief personal story or opinion that connects to what the other person said. Day 7, the goal is just to keep one conversation going for at least 5 minutes using any of these techniques.
7 days, 7 small steps. That seems like a great way to build confidence. And the suggestion to maybe record yourself practicing, even just talking to yourself, and celebrating the progress that's important too.
Absolutely. Acknowledge the effort.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive on keeping English conversations going. Wow, we covered a lot. We looked at why they sometimes die unexpectedly, the big mindset shifts, thinking of it like playing catch, focusing on curiosity over perfection, then the actual techniques. Mirror match, those vital follow-up questions, emotional reactions, the echo technique, plus the common mistakes to avoid, and finally, how to use all this not just for small talk, but to build real connection.
Yeah, and I think the core message, the really empowering takeaway from this material is that you absolutely do not need perfect English or some massive vocabulary list to be good at this. What really matters is being genuinely curious about the other person, showing empathy, using a few of these smart techniques consistently and honestly. Just having the courage to try and keep that ball in the air.
Courage and curiosity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, conversation, it's not an English test, is it? It's just an opportunity to connect with another person.
So true. We really hope you listening will take maybe just one or two of these ideas, maybe the echo technique or the 70-30 rule, and just consciously try it out this week. Don't wait for the perfect conversation.
Please don't. And the final thought this material leaves us with, which I found really powerful, is this idea. You're a conversationalist now. It reframes it. It's not something you achieve later when your English is good enough. It's an identity, a capability that's already in you. It's just waiting to be expressed through that genuine interest, through using these simple, very human techniques.
You are a conversationalist now. That's a great way to think about it. You absolutely have this in you. Keep practicing, keep reaching out, keep connecting, and most importantly, keep it going.